Saratoga Springs, Tuesday, October 15th, 2024 at 6:01 p.m. Present tonight, I have Councilwoman Barton, Councilman McComber, Karn, and Wadman. So we do have a quorum this evening. And Wilden, didn't forget you.
Oh, thank you.
So we do have a quorum. I've asked Councilman McComber to lead us in our invocation, and then Councilman Karn in our pledge.
Our dear and gracious Heavenly Father, as we come before Thee at this time, we're grateful for the many blessings that Thou hast given us, for the opportunity to live in such a beautiful city and state and in this wonderful country we get to call home. We're thankful for the opportunity that we have to govern ourselves and to be able to make decisions that will impact our lives based on our own thoughts and our own desires. Heavenly Father, we ask a special blessing on this evening, that Thy Spirit will be present, that as we discuss these items, we'll be able to think about Saratoga Springs today and into the future, to make the decisions that will benefit the residents now and those who will be moving here soon. Heavenly Father, we love Thee and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, public input. Time has been set aside for the public to express ideas and concerns, and for comments or subject matter not listed on the agenda. If you're here for the public hearing, please hold your comments for the public hearing on the Recreation, Arts, and Parks tax this evening. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please avoid repetitive comments. Please be respectful in your comments. And there's a total of 15 minutes that have been set aside for public input. Is anybody here for public input? Okay, if you'd come up and state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Brenda Atwood. My address is 519 West Malia Lane, Saratoga Springs. And I am a neighbor directly next door to Lakeview Academy. I did read a statement a few weeks back at the Planning Commission, and I'm hoping to not have to read that again. So I did email it to all of the members of the council as well as the mayor for them to review. Since this meeting 2.5 weeks ago, the school has not responded. I've not heard yet back from them, from the director, from the board member. Even though they know who we are, they have my husband's email information. I have not seen any noticeable changes, especially in regards to safety. At the Planning Commission, the city engineer suggested reversing the drop-off circle at the school. This would allow for the students to be dropped off at the curb, as well as to move the entrance away from the crosswalk, which is a safety issue in and of itself. Cars are still continuing through a right-hand turn lane, blocking the exit to our subdivision, as well as creating safety issues by failing to turn when they go straight. I've also noticed over the past couple weeks that they have two lanes of drop-off, so cars are double parked along the curb during their drop-off and pickup, so that there's kids crossing in front of cars or behind cars to get to the school. Honestly, I just would like to see some response from the school. I would like some of these concerns to be addressed, especially when it comes to safety and neighbor relations, before any changes are made or as part of stipulations for changes. I feel like we're good neighbors, and I would like to see them be good neighbors, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mark, can we follow up with the school? Okay, thank you. Anybody else here for public input? Seeing none, I will close the public input. Any reports from the mayor and council? Councilman Karn?
Thank you, Mayor. One thing I wanted to discuss tonight was on the November ballot, we have Proposition 14. As people are aware, we're building a new city hall and library. This building will be vacant targeting November, December of 2025, correct? I would like, with council's support, our staff to, one, if it passes, reach out to the representation for the new district to talk about a long-term lease or a purchase of this building for a potential district facility. And if it does not pass, potentially reaching out to current ASD about a Alpine School District West facility.
Mark, I thought we talked with Julie a while ago about potentially doing something with this building.
Yeah, there have been some internal comments and discussions happening about that, and I think what this is a formal request for us to enter into those conversations,
Okay.
should it be successful.
I would support that.
I think we have to let the election play out, right?
We do.
But either way, the city will be leaving this building. This building is obviously built for a institutional use, a government use. There's a, depending on what happens with this election, is very easily, we move out one day, a new governmental entity could move in the next
Yeah.
day at a very low cost of entry.
We had had those preliminary discussions about very easily being able to move in. We've got the bus yard up the way from here.
Yeah, and I think some of the questions that are coming up relative to that topic, just as the administrator for what's been going on, we've seen questions about, central purchasing. One of the conversations was we could continue possibly doing central purchasing if all of the districts were in agreement with that. Facility's already doing it. It's already distributing materials for charter schools and even other school districts. So it seems like that could continue in that vein. We do have a bus yard here in the city. And, obviously this could solve, I think, the third piece really to that question of if the district is successful in splitting, what could happen? So certainly there's a lot of ground to cover, but
And those are all really questions for a future school board.
They are.
I just want the future or current school board to understand that we are a willing negotiating partner on this facility, and it could provide an opportunity, if that does pass or not, for a low initial cost of entry for a district facility here.
Yep.
I was gonna say that same thing. I'm 100% in support of that discussion, us talking about it. I think the biggest thing here is working with the school district. Either way, I mean, we have the same taxpayers, right? So any way we can make it so it's more affordable and, anything like that, I 100% support looking into that a little bit more. And, I know it's been talked about a little bit, but fully support.
Yeah, this is just more of a formal request.
Yes, yep.
So thank you.
Okay.
Mayor and council, just real quickly, do I have a majority of your directive to move forward in that?
I don't think it's changed.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay. Councilman McComber?
So 2 weeks ago, I failed to bring up a comment from the quarterly reports, and I just wanted to address something. I wanted to point out the success of the recreation department. I thought it was really cool how they had camps this last summer. But I also, a lot of camps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 9 different camps for young kids to have opportunities to grow and learn, from games to patriotic to arts and crafts to science, even a water palooza. I just thought it was a great program, but I was a little bit concerned that we had, in some cases, more kids on wait lists than actually could participate. And so I just wanted to make sure, as just one member of 5 from the council, that I would absolutely support some additional funding, because these people are actually paying for these camps, to make sure that we don't have so many kids missing out who wanted to participate. And my second point is, and I would imagine we did this, but just to confirm that a Saratoga Springs resident gets priority over a resident from another city. Sometimes when we start these new programs, we don't put that in place right away because we're not sure how popular it will be. And then we're sort of stuck having our citizens, children, not being able to participate. And my last point is I think this is something that I would love to even see grow more, and partnering with the Arts Council, partnering with other groups to see there's so much more to our city than just sports. And I love seeing us expand into other areas, because it's actually only 1 in 4 or 5 kids actually play a sport in the city, where 3 or 4 will play instruments, they're into art, they're into photography. And I really want to make sure that we're giving opportunities for all of our kids. And I was very excited to see that. I wanted to point that out and give them a huge applause. And then also to give my support for future expansion. And Missy Bear, who was the one who ran that, I just wanted to thank her publicly and on the record. So thank you.
And I think they may have reached out, BJ Horrocks with Westlake Boys Baseball. They're trying to build the program. They were going to reach out to Heston about doing some joint leagues to help some young kids learn basic baseball rules and catching, pitching with Heston.
I love that, like early.
Integrate Westlake in as part of our community.
Yeah, well, because other neighboring communities, Mayor, to your point, they do a really good job having their high school integrated into their camps, but into their city, and it really creates a culture.
Yeah.
We've never really had that, because I think a problem we had is it was an Eagle Mountain Saratoga Springs High School for the first 6-7 years. And so everyone was worried about being biased to one city or the other. And then now that it's 98% Saratoga residents, it's still acting like it can't be involved in our community. So I love that. Thank you.
So I think just to piggyback, if you could relay that to Heston, that the council's in support of things like that. Like I said, BJ just reached out, I want to say Thursday or Friday last week, to get Heston's contact info.
And Mayor, if I could just add on to that, what Councilman Commerce said, I'm 100% supportive of helping support our rec department dip their toes in other types of programming.
Besides just sports.
Because if we see demand for it, I want to be able to support it. Because recreation is not just soccer, baseball, junior jazz. There's a lot of different things that we can help provide, recreation for, if we're going to do it for some.
I mean, Chris, to that point,
Well, there's
perfect example.
Councilman Waldman says there's hockey now, so I guess we might need to look at that.
I mean, a perfect example, the science camp had 50 kids participate, 79 on the wait list.
That's amazing. So there's demand.
Well, and we want to encourage science.
Yeah, there's demand.
We need to, exactly.
And to be fair, we are limited on space for some of those things, and I think the
But
new
we're
City Hall
fixing that.
Library will help address that
Yeah.
in some ways.
Okay.
One of my favorite memories, one of my favorite memories is when we first moved into Saratoga. We were part of the fishing club.
Oh, the one over there in Loch Lomond.
Loch Lomond.
Yeah.
When my kids were little, they used to go over there and go fishing, so.
We just need to stock the fish into the lake.
Yeah. Pulled a lot of,
They fished all the fish out.
I was an instructor. I pulled a lot of hooks out of my hand.
Yeah.
So, any other comments? Okay. We'll Mark, anything from administration?
We do have need for a closed session tonight.
Okay, perfect. Okay, consent items. Before I move for a motion, we do have the library board.
So Mayor and Council, this is Michael Hinckley. Mike is with preference, who we are hoping you will appoint to the library board.
Okay, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've lived in Saratoga Springs for about 4 years now. I am a Assistant Attorney General for the Utah Attorney General's Office prosecuting white-collar crime. Been doing that for just over a year, and I've also worked at Utah County prosecuting broad felonies. The library is important to me. I remember as a kid going to my public library and what that meant to me, checking out books and just the amount of reading I would do. I loved it. So I'm excited to be part of this organization to help bring that love to the community.
That's great, thank you. Councilman Carn?
I just wanted to say, I think you're joining the library board at a great time. We've got a pretty exciting future for the library.
I'm gonna stop wearing white collars here now.
Chief can arrest him if you need him to.
No, sounds good. I'll talk to the chief if I need to.
So, thank you for your willingness to serve. When we started this library, it was in the basement of a bank, and we put a lot of hours into it.
All volunteers.
Yes, all volunteers. We got some books that somebody donated, an elderly person, that she was really excited. And the title of the book was Some Days Computers Will Be a Big Part of Our Life. As we were cataloging the books in the computer, it was great. So, but thank you. It's come a long ways. Look forward to your service.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion on the consent.
So made.
I have a first from Councilman McComber,
Second,
a second from Councilman Carn. Any further discussion?
I just want to call out one consent item. It is number one. We've already essentially approved this through our budgetary process, but this is the purchase of all the books
Yep,
for the new
Exciting.
library. Exciting.
Yeah.
perfect. Barton?
Aye.
Comber?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
Carn?
Aye.
Wadman?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We do have a public hearing on the Recreation, Arts, and Parks tax.
Mayor and council, this is the last step before the vote on this RAP tax. And this last step is basically, has two purposes. One is for a presentation of the arguments in favor and against the ballot proposition, the RAP tax. And the second part of it, which is the public hearing, is under the statute, it says the city council shall provide an interested party desiring to be heard an opportunity to present oral testimony within reasonable limits. Now, it doesn't really specify the oral testimony as far as whether it's the arguments for or against. It's just the public hearing for anyone to present any testimony within reasonable limits on the RAP tax. So with respect to the first part of it, we did not receive any arguments against the ballot proposition. The city council did draft an argument in favor of the ballot proposition. So if you'd like, as a city council, you can read that argument for. It's not necessarily required. It says a presentation of the arguments shall be allowed. So it's up to you. If you want to read that, probably would be good for the public to hear. And then after that, the public hearing would be for anyone to present testimony with respect to the RAP tax ballot proposition, so Proposition 13.
Okay, so public comment, then we'll have Councilman Wilden read the statement, or just the statement?
Opposite. Read it.
Well, I would probably say read the statement first, and then also, of course, there's no arguments against, but then anyone who wants to speak on the RAP tax would have that opportunity.
So we'll have Councilman read the fourth statement that we have.
Did you want Wadman to do it or me?
Wilden,
Oh, man. The whole thing?
the whole thing.
You can do it like when you're a kid. Maybe.
I know. Don't make fun of me. Proposition 13 relates to whether the city of Saratoga Springs, the city, should impose a sales tax of 0.001, 1/10 of a penny on each dollar spent in the city to fund recreational, cultural, botanical, and zoological facilities, programs, and nonprofit organizations, commonly referred to as a RAP tax. This amounts to 1 penny every $10 spent or 10 cents for every $100 spent for non-food transactions. Sales tax on food transactions will remain unchanged. The RAP tax will help meet the recreational and cultural needs of a growing city with over 60,000 residents. The City Council encourages residents to vote yes on Proposition 13 for the reasons herein. Recreational and cultural activities are valued aspects of the lives of the city residents. Recreational and cultural activities provide opportunities for individuals, families, and seniors to improve their mental and physical health, building relationships and community, spur creativity, and advance general well-being. Saratoga Springs continues to grow and add exceptional parks and cultural activities and programs that draw people to our community from the whole region. These activities will be enhanced by the passage of the RAP tax. Those who use parks, recreational, and cultural programs and facilities should help pay for the upkeep of growth of such. Revenue from RAP tax comes from all shoppers, residents and non-residents who shop here and come here to recreate and participate in activities such as splash days. Approximately 71% of the point-of-sales transactions in Saratoga Springs comes from individuals and businesses from outside the city. In other words, those who recreate here but don't reside or pay property tax will help pay for the recreational cultural services they enjoy when they visit our city if the RAP tax is approved. Most surrounding cities have a wrap tax. These cities include, but are not limited to, Lehigh, American Fork, Highland, Alpine, Cedar Hills, Pleasant Grove, Linden, Orem, and Provo. The amount of 1/10 of a penny for each dollar spent is not a deterrent for those who choose to shop in other cities. For example, non-resident shoppers will still continue to shop in the city regardless of the imposition of the wrap tax, and these shoppers will help fund the city's growth, recreational, and cultural amenities they enjoy. The wrap tax is not imposed on food transactions, so a majority of the revenue will come from non-essential transactions. If approved, wrap tax funding may be used to support services such as theater and musical performances, arts and cultural festivals and programs, parks, playing fields, sports courts, trails, marinas, amphitheaters, splash pads, swimming pools, recreation centers. The City Council encourages residents to help support recreational and cultural activities, programs, and facilities in the city by voting yes on Proposition 13. The wrap tax will be a major benefit to the lives of the city residents and help fund many of the activities, services, and programs that make this such a great place to live.
Thank you, Councilman Wilden. You can have a drink now.
I did that all in one breath.
Sounded like it.
Okay. Is there anybody here with other comments for or against for the public hearing? Okay. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion from the council.
There is.
Oh, there's no motion,
Been,
right? Okay. We'll move on to business item 1, consolidated fee schedule update.
Did I put you to sleep?
I rarely have to deal with the fee schedule.
Sorry about that. Oh, it's not even in here. I'm sorry. It's in your packet. So we spent quite a bit of time on this. We used a consultant from Zions Public Finance. As you know, we've been tracking time, and where we were missing, we made really good estimates. And we looked at how much it costs the city for these applications. And so you'll see quite a bit of updates being proposed. And then you'll also see how much is included in that fee, like 3 or 4 reviews or 1 or 2 reviews, and then a planning commission meeting, and a council meeting. And then you'll see on the far right column, you'll see that we are proposing, well, it's already been in there, but we're making changes to that column. And what we did is we took the average. So if there's 3 reviews in the initial review, then each additional review will be the average of that, divided by 3, right? So if there's 3.
No, I appreciate staff updating this so we have confidence in our numbers.
We actually used Zions to help us really make sure that we did it right, and we're very confident in this. Where we've been tracking our time on our planning applications in great detail, it gave us a lot of insight so that we could set these fees appropriately.
Perfect. Councilman McComber?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo that. I appreciate this because in the past, we've had a real problem with organizations, I won't single out any one type of organization, using our staff to do their work. And you guys are extremely talented. Your team is fantastic. You have so much insight. But really, if businesses who are going to be making a profit in our city should not be using taxpayer money to help with their plan reviews because they didn't do a very good job at the beginning and they have to keep doing more and more. So I'm very happy to see that we are going to be charging for that extra labor and extra work. I mean, I remember some where we had 9 and 10 reviews in an application that it just was completely excessive and costing us a huge amount of money. So thank you for staying on top of it. Also, thank you for using outside counsel support, not legal counsel, but outside support to make sure that we get it right. And we're covering all of our bases. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Wilden?
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure, I was understanding this correctly. It looks like, say, on the concept plan, is the proposed fee, looks like a reduction, because, the current fee, it says $1,250, then the average calculated fee is north.
There are a few reductions throughout, not many, and that is based on our average calculated fee. And so if that was lower than what we were charging, we didn't want to be charging more than what our average calculated fee is. So there are just a few reductions. However, the majority of the changes are increases.
No, that's great. I think that's good evidence. I mean, the state is always challenging every fee, and we can demonstrate that, hey, that we're charging what it actually costs. See, some of them actually went down.
Yeah, that's
So-
a really good.
I mean, I think that's, send it off to our state senator.
We reduced fees.
Okay. If there's no other comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the consolidated fee schedule update, Planning Department application fees, Resolution R24-53 dated today,
I have a
with
first-
any staff findings and conditions.
I have a first from Councilman McComber,
Second.
second from Councilman Carn. Any further discussion? Barton?
Aye.
Wadman?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
McComber?
Aye.
Carn?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We have the Lakeview Academy rezone from agricultural to institutional civic.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As stated, this item is a rezone.
Yeah.
We have our applicant with us this evening, Brent Pace from Odyssey Partners. This is for the Lakeview Academy Charter School located at 527 West, 400 North. The current zoning on that property is agricultural. The requested rezone as part of this is to the IC, Institutional Civic Zone. That is in compliance with our future land use map in our general plan, which shows this area designated for institutional civic zoning. This item is preceding a major site plan amendment that will be forthcoming once the applicant submits that and it goes through our review process. That major site plan amendment will come back to the council for review, showing the proposed changes to the site. But as stated, this is solely the rezone this evening. So with that, if you guys have any questions for me or for the applicant, happy to answer.
Councilman McComber?
So with the application, they'll be doing a transportation study, which we typically require from any school, correct?
Correct. Yeah, a traffic study will be required as part of that.
Okay.
And that will be included when that comes through.
Because then just for those in the audience, there's very little that the city council can do in terms of, like, you notice that only schools have chain link fences in our city. We don't allow chain link fence, but schools can because they're separate, they're considered separate. We can't even say what the buildings look like, or we can't even do square footage requirements with park. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're limited on, but the one that we're not, and where we have power, is the transportation study. And I've had residents, not just the one who came today, but I've had residents for many years, and I'm a resident who's had a horrible experience going in front of this school. And so this is something that I would hope that, and I imagine will be very big part of the plan. Listen to the residents. It's interesting because sometimes we, as elected officials, I'm guilty of it as well. I sort of think like, I know better. But sometimes when you actually live somewhere, they know better because they live and breathe it every day. And so I would hopefully encourage you to, the lady who was here today, I was reading some of the suggestions in the letter. I thought they were fantastic. And there's not even an added cost. It's literally just how you structure the organization of cars. But getting the community really involved in that, because yes, our police and our fire marshal and all the different things that we need to have, that would be huge in terms of PR for the community, because we also had a horrible experience happen not too long ago here. So this is definitely top of mind for a lot of people. So that, I'll just warn you, when it does come, I will be scrutinizing that transportation study immensely, because that is something that I have an obligation to the residents, and I will be doing that. And I can speak for the rest of the council. We all will. So thank you very much.
Okay. Councilman Wadman?
So I had a few people reach out to me as well with concerns about the rezoning, because what does this mean to them, right? Neighbors. Because they don't, it's an unknown, right? We've got issues already, and they're worried about those issues being exacerbated by growth or whatever the schools. And so we really don't know what these changes, I mean, we're going to go through the site plan process and all that. And I like that. There's been some citizens that have reached out, and they've been very civil to the academy and don't feel like they've got a response. Just listening to them and listening to other neighbors and stuff, they got some concerns. So like Councilman McComber said, we've received a letter with several suggestions. as these citizens pull the levers of this beautiful process of local government, one of the things we want to do is make sure that they're heard and that they have a voice and that people listen to them. Because right now, they don't feel like they've been listened to. Even at the Planning Commission, I heard some people get up, and there was a couple people even there more than Brenda Atwood, but there was several people there that voiced the same concern. So I am, not that I'm leery of the changes that are coming, because I don't know what they are. And I know that, like McComber said, Councilman McComber, we have limited power, limited authority here within the city, but at least we want the citizens to be heard and to let them have a voice. So I'm leaning, just to voice where I sit, I'm voting for a delay right now. Right now I'd vote no on this because I don't know what that means. And to just delay it so that we can get some vision into the site plan. I know that the city wants to move towards this new zoning, and I understand that. But as a mechanism of having that conversation with the citizens and us, that's where I stand. So.
Kevin?
Yeah, so a couple questions were asked about transportation, roadways, and I just wanted to briefly go over what the Utah Code says about charter schools specifically. And so the first part of it is charter schools are considered permitted uses in all zoning districts within the city. That's state law. So really what we're proposing to do here is just to make it consistent with what the actual use is, but they're still permitted to be here in this location, regardless of their zoning. However, with transportation and roadways, that as Councilmember McComber mentioned, we have discretion there. The state statute, first of all, says that charter schools and schools are subject to our land use ordinances, unless there's an exception. And there is some limiting language, and this is what the statute says specifically, and it says the city may not require a school district or charter school to participate in the cost of a roadway or sidewalk, except, and this is the exception, that is not, well, it's not really an exception, but it says that is not reasonably necessary for the safety of school children and not located on or contiguous to school property. And so that's, you have to look at that. Is it reasonably necessary for the safety of school children? And is it located on or contiguous to school property? So that's where your discretion comes in when it comes to the roadways and requiring the charter school to participate in the cost of that. And I suppose that the traffic study will address those issues specifically.
Okay, Councilman McComber?
So, Lance, I just wanted to help you understand. I think where we're going to be, where you might vote yes or no, you can do whatever you want, of course, but in this situation, we introduced a new zone in our city called civic institutional. They have a right to have this here in any zone, and so what we're really doing is just getting them so it's consistent with our zoning change that we made, what was that, about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago? I can't remember when we did the civic institutional. So we're really just making it so that they're consistent. They can have it in their ag, they could have it. So where you really are going to want to be scrutinizing whether you vote yes or no, of course you can do whatever you want here, is when they present their presentation. And if you do not feel it meets the welfare and needs of the city, that's when you would vote no. So just helping you understand.
Councilman McComber, I think I understand that. My thing is, it's more of a statement too, is why I'm leaning this direction. It's not a nay, it's just, I'm cautious about the rezoning because of the questions out there with the citizens and they don't know, and until we get some more clarity. I understand where the city's going, so yeah, I just wanted to put that on public record.
Councilman, okay. There's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I've done all the motions today.
I'll make it. I move that we approve Lakeview Academy rezone from agriculture to institutional civic located 527 West 400 North, ordinance 2446 dated today.
Okay, I have a first from Councilwoman Barton.
Are there any staff findings and conditions?
Oh, with all the staff findings and conditions.
Okay, I'll second that.
A second from Councilman Carn. Any further discussion? Do you have anything as the applicant to add? Okay. Wadman?
No, nay.
Carn?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
McComber?
Aye.
Barton?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, well, not unanimously, 4-1. Got on autopilot there after Wilden's speech.
You can just leave.
Northern Frontier Lot 3 site plan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we have before you the Northern Frontier Lot 3 site plan. This here is on 3.29 acres, so a fairly large lot. This is in the office warehouse zone. It is required to have the 30-foot trail along Redwood Road. Those improvements have been installed with the subdivision, but I believe they are counting some of that off-street or off-site landscaping in their 20% landscaping requirement. It does comply with our code. We did take a look at everything involved regarding parking, landscaping, and the site plan regulations, as well as the zone architectural design standards. The building articulations are correct. They do meet our building articulation code, as well as the colors and materials. Landscaping is met again with the landscaping along Redwood Road. With that, staff is recommending approval.
Is the applicant,
Yes.
do you have anything you want to add? Okay. Any comments, Councilman Carn?
Yeah, can you just help orient me a little bit? This is directly across the street from the ASD property.
Yes. So if you remember, a few months ago, we did
This is the restaurant supply business
yes,
is right here?
is
Okay.
on Lot 4, which is the corner of Fall Harvest.
South of it?
South of it, correct.
Okay, all right. And my other question was, and it's probably there, and I just didn't see it, what's the square footage of this facility?
It is,
There,
what was it? 46,000.
46,000.
But the majority of it will be an office warehouse. I don't think,
Do you have tenants already? Okay.
so, yeah, it's on the site plan. If you can see that.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Councilman Wilden?
Is this in the Gateway area?
No, it's not. This is
Okay.
down south of the Great Gateway.
So maybe it's not applicable here. I know we had a discussion around parking along major arterials and other things like that. Is that specific code not applicable here?
But then how come like Olive Garden and everything on Redwood Road has the parking in?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you answer that? Is it because it's office warehouse?
It is office warehouse, but it also has quite a drop off
Below grade.
down there.
Can you orient me one more time on where it actually is? We go back to the slide before that. I'm so, I thought I had it one place. Okay.
Yeah.
So it looks like there will be parking along Redwood Road.
There is. We've had this discussion previously, and I can't remember.
Can you name the streets around it, please?
Yes, Fall Harvest is on the south. Stagecoach Drive is along the east side, and Redwood Road on the west, and 2400 North on the north side.
I just want to make sure we're fair here, regardless of office, warehouse, business, whatever, that we're treating the parking here, which we gave a whole lot of scrutiny over. I can't remember what the building type was anyway, but some
We did.
building in the Gateway, and I know this is different. But have we really verified that the landscaping, the berming, or whatever it needs to be there?
Yeah, it's higher than, I've got to look at that.
Along Redwood Road, it's elevated above.
It is, Redwood Road is elevated.
Is it a
up-
big
Okay.
retaining wall?
No, it's landscaping down.
Like tiered landscaping? Or is it just?
No, it's I can't
meets
remember the
slope
grade of
It
it.
does meet the
yeah.
slope guidelines, though?
I believe, yes, it does.
Natural berm.
It'll be
Yeah.
Well, I'm just, because like over further north of this where they're building it up, you're just seeing
Yeah.
tons of channels because the water is eroding it like crazy. Because just as long as it's meeting our grade requirements
The
because
grade
the
requirement.
rocks will all end up right along Redwood Road and it'll be just weed paper and nub above, like there won't be anything holding anything.
I'm looking at that grade.
This slopes from Redwood Road down to your property,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, so the frontage is the same level as Redwood Road, and then it slopes down. I
So
don't
it
know.
slopes down to you, you're buried.
Yeah, I don't know,
Rocks would roll
I
with
mean,
it.
if you want to see these pictures, the elevations here would show that the front is higher and then it slopes
I
down.
can get to those elevations.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me address the parking really quick, and then you guys can continue on that. So what it states, it says, on-site parking shall be located primarily, so it requires your approval, I apologize. I was like searching really quick. So it says that on-site parking shall be located primarily to the sides or rear of the building. Variations may be approved by the land use authority subject to the following criteria. And it says in the office warehouse, if the development is office, warehouse flex space, and loading docks are not adjacent to the public right-of-way. So because the loading docks, in order to put the loading docks in the back rather than put them in the
Towards Redwood Road,
front,
yeah.
that's one of the criteria that you're allowed to approve.
So
Sorry, I believe this question was asked at the subdivision when Northern Frontier came through, and I know we had a conversation with it, so it's been a while ago, so I apologize.
Councilman McComber?
So I would be okay then, of course, having the parking next to Redwood Road because then my loading docks are shielded by the building, correct? Is that? Correct. And you're dropped down below. So they might see the tops of the trucks and stuff, but it's not like, okay. And then even along Redwood Road, so you're meeting it, so you still have, because there's parking, have they bermed it to prevent headlights from hitting cars coming down Redwood?
So, and it's hard to see this elevation change.
Because other buildings that are along there, you'll see there's a slight berm because when they're parking, when you go to park, then your headlights can blind people coming 50 miles an hour down Redwood Road, which can be very dangerous.
And their parking will be lower than Redwood Road.
But they said it was just at grade.
No, it's lower, so I'm looking
So
at the
these lines
contours.
in here are contour lines, you can see, so you can kind of see them here, but they're going through the landscaping. So it's actually a few feet below Redwood.
Right,
Okay, so it's, the berm is the whole hill.
Right,
basically.
yeah,
So you
so
can,
the slope is acting as a
Steven,
berm,
it's-
so those headlights won't be going into the road
Right,
because it's
so
sloped.
basically the whole hill is creating a berm naturally.
yeah.
Okay.
And you can see how the sidewalk, they're having to slope it down one way and then down the other side of the berm. So they.
You didn't have to build the berm, you're
15.
mitigating the huge berm that you have at your site. Let's be honest, right? So,
Yes.
Councilman Wadman?
I was going to say it's very similar to the, whatever that business that's just north of here, the tile place, right? Empire Flooring?
Yeah.
There's the same topography, right, coming off of Redwood? and-
It's quite a bit below, that's even more.
Yeah, or temp rental is a good example. They had to put up a retaining wall on the corner there. That's kind of what they're dealing with as they go north. Now, I think it flattens out as they go more north and when you get up to 2400. So these next two lots will have to pay attention. That they're berming it, correct.
Perfect, okay. I will entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve business item number 3 as stated on the agenda, including all staff findings and conditions.
I'll second.
I have a first from Councilman Wilden, a second from McComber. Any further discussion? Carn?
Aye.
Wadman?
Aye.
Barton?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
Comber?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Business item 4, Saratoga Springs Commercial Lots, 607, 612, 613 site plan.
So Mayor and Council, we have the Saratoga Springs Commercial Plat F, lots 607, 612, 613. We allowed them to combine these 3 lots in one site plan because of the parking and the amount of parking. It is in the regional commercial zone as the surrounding area. Just to show you the breakdown with the parking for each, requirements for each lot, they have overparked by a few stalls, but the challenge that they had was the distance from those stalls to the front doors of the building on Lot 7. So we've had quite a few discussions with them to try to work it to where it maximized their parking and the distances for each building on each lot. So they have met those requirements. There are stalls, let me just point out this, on the site plan, the stalls in the back, they're required per their tenant contracts that they have to allow for employee parking in the rear, and that's the reason for the parking lots in the rear. So those accesses will actually not be the front doors that they'll go through. And so over and above those stalls, they have the required parking. So lot 607, you have the 5 tenant spaces. And then you have lot 612 to the north and the required tenant parking there. This doesn't show the correction on the site plan that you received in your packet. The fence, oh no, it does, I'm sorry. The fence is on the the fence along Lake Drive was pulled in. So on the new site plan that's in your packet, it does show that the fence is back along that straight way because of the clear sight triangles. But it does provide screening. And they've done a good job with the landscaping along there to help mitigate some of that. And then we have lot 613. Again, they have changed some things up to accommodate for parking. Here are the elevations. They do meet the building elevations every 40 feet, the building articulations with their stone and work and so forth. This looks like the building on 607. Give you a sky view. And then for this is 612. And then 613, or the 3D look at it. And then this is the multi-tenant right there on 613 between the two buildings. The landscaping, again, this isn't the updated version, so that's why one of the conditions in the staff report is for them to update those because it was really last minute on the parking that we were trying to shuffle and they weren't able to get the landscape plans updated, but they will be required to make sure that drive-through is screened as it goes down to Lake Drive and Redwood Road. So they do have some of that landscaping in place prior, but now with this change with the parking, we will need to take another look at that. With that, staff recommends approval with this findings and conditions in the staff report.
Does the applicant have anything they want to add?
They are here. Richard, if you wanted to come up.
No, we're happy to address any questions you might have. Nothing in particular we have to add tonight. We appreciate the effort staff's made with working with us to try to solve some of the late-breaking issues that we've got to have to wrestle to the ground and work through. But I think we've got a great plan that meets all the criteria and conforms with everything that the city's looking for. And we've got great tenants coming in to support the commerce in the city.
Okay. Councilman McComber?
So in terms of parking, I am okay with this. I always have reservations when it comes to the parking situation, as you well know. Signs and parking are sort of my thing. But the reason why is that they do meet the requirement, and really there's about 7 days in the year that the parking really becomes a huge problem. Black Friday, I mean, we can list those days, right? And so people understand that you might have to walk a little bit further on those days. So you're still meeting, even though it's further away than what we would require, but then there's an option for variance. And so I'm okay with that, which is, I know, surprising, because I think some people thought I was going to come in all hot and heavy on that.
Right along.
And I haven't even eaten yet, so I'm not even hangry yet.
And we better move this along.
Yeah. So that, and then the only other thing that the landscaping for the drive-through, landscaping dies.
Okay.
So I really would like, when we're working with you, like we look at, this is where Stephen was talking about, some berming-ish opportunities, fencing opportunities, maybe right when it's gonna be the really bad, when that light flashes, there could be some kind of fencing or something to help mitigate that, because this is becoming, I mean, we call it Commerce Drive, right, you know what I mean? Because it is a huge commerce area. And again, this is Redwood Road, people going very fast and those cars. Other neighboring fast foods have done a really good job lowering, suppressing, and creating berms. Wendy's is a good example. You never get flashed at Wendy's because it's down and they've got a nice berm, right? They've cut it down. So working with the applicant, and if you work with staff, just let's make sure that we really are looking at those impacts, because planting some bushes, they just die. And then our poor code enforcement is out there trying to get people to plant new bushes. And that's not what I want them doing. I'd rather them focusing on some more of the bigger picture. So if we can just make sure that that is, and then I would be okay with this.
Yeah, just one comment. This is interior to Redwood Road. It's on the inside of the street front pad, so the adjacent drive is not Redwood Road, it's Lake Drive, the interior street within the complex. So we have slower traffic and less interference with the high-speed traffic on Redwood Road. So I think we can certainly meet the
And
requirements that
maybe
you've
it won't be
established.
as much of a burden then,
Yep.
because it's slower.
We're happy to work with staff on those
Yeah.
concerns. And
Yeah, and it sounds like it will be a little bit better because on the inside. And my other comment, we need to fix the stop signs. As we work on these projects, the stop signs are wrong
Yeah.
on Lake, and there, we have the stop signs here, and the stop signs should be north-south, not east-west. Because when you're coming in off of Redwood Road, it should be a nice shot through traffic up to Home Depot and to turning into your development in the Raising Cane's and all that, right? Right now, it's a stop, and that could queue back. So if we can just make sure that we're fix those stop signs as part of this project. Thank you.
Councilman Wadman?
So just for my understanding, that the parking on the north side, is that crosswalk or is that actually steps leading down into the?
No, those are crosswalks. They are challenged with a grade down to Redwood Road.
Right.
And so those are crosswalks, and then there are pedestrian paths, 2 of them, through the 2 sides.
But the overall objective is to level all this off, right? There's the parking lot and the,
Well, it'll kind of still slope.
still is sloped, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the parking lot has slope in it. The drive itself, from north to south, is relatively low.
Okay.
So where the pedestrians cross is a minor grade change.
Okay.
In the parking lot, there may be as much as 3% in some areas.
Yeah, and you can see that with the elevation of where it says TJ Maxx going down.
So
Okay.
when you cross, you'd be
So,
walking
yeah.
on the contours with the elevation, not against them.
Okay.
Yeah. And Lance, there's many parking lots that do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna make one comment, because I went there the other week, and that first intersection is confusing, because it's the intersection of Lake Drive and Lake Drive.
Yes.
And I was
Needs
like,
to be renamed as
I
well.
was gonna point out to the applicant, if there's a way
Yeah,
that,
we'll work with you on that.
I know, because it's weird, because Lake Drive, I think, loops back on itself.
Right.
That's
We
just
need to
bad, that's bad wayfinding.
Well, we fixed that with our own problem. We did that.
That's why
with
we have
Commerce,
Exchange
and
Drive.
We have Exchange Drive. We need to do something similar.
We can work with the applicant on that.
Okay. If there's no other comments, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve Saratoga Springs Commercial Lot 607, 612, 613 site plan located approximately one of the lake drives at Redwood Road. Dan Schmidt, Thomas Leonard as applicant with all staff findings and conditions.
I have a first from Councilman McComber.
Second.
Second, Councilman Wadman. Any further discussion? Barton?
Aye.
Comber?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
Carn?
Aye.
Wadman?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Kayla, I want that in the minutes. One of the lake
Oh,
drives.
one of the lake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have amendments to Title 19, City of Saratoga Springs.
I get to stand up here for a little bit longer. So what we have before you tonight, if you remember, back in May, you adopted, or you did a resolution for a pending ordinance to get the fire station going. This is that ordinance coming back to you, as it's been reworked for, not only for public buildings, but for all buildings that are encumbered by a 50% or more obscured by more than a 50% natural topography, like the firehouse was at Ring Road. This would exempt them from the number one, the building articulation, as far as it is not on a public or private road. So with it being on a public or private, any elevation that is on a public or private road, it will need to meet the Title 19-1605, number one, requirements for building articulation. However, if it is obscured by a 50% slope or whatever natural topography, then they would not be required to meet that. That would be the exception.
That makes sense.
Any questions?
Makes sense.
So this will apply to every zone then, right?
Yes.
Well, that allows 40-foot buildings, but.
Well, yeah, any commercial or multifamily building.
I mean, it makes sense, but we're addressing it for the fire station. Why wouldn't we just limit it to the institutional, what is the zone, the IC zone?
The IC zone, yeah.
That's,
We did draft it that way. We were under the impression that we wanted to apply it across, not just for public buildings, but we can certainly rewrite it so it's just for public buildings.
Fire station.
I would prefer that we just keep it with fire stations for
Or
now,
IC
because we're
zones.
not seeing the potential unintended consequences. If there's some building that needs to come in, it really needs that, then we can look at it at that point.
Agree with that.
yeah.
Do you want to limit this only to that zone?
To the IC zone.
Yes.
Well, wait, is that in the IC zone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is
Councilman
that
Con-
something we can do here right now, or do we have to bring this back? Kevin, what would be ideal?
We just,
I'm okay with that
We
amendment.
can amend the,
Can
we
do
We're
can
not
amend.
writing code here.
That's not, we're just limiting
We're
it.
limiting it.
institutional and civic, is that what it's
Yes.
called? Okay.
Or civic and institutional, whichever.
Civic and,
Whichever. If we're good with it, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I do have a question. This is, you brought it up, so I'm going to ask the question. Our goal, when we did that pending ordinance, was to get this project moving and to make it so we could put our equipment inside in the winter, and I have not seen anything go vertical over there. Did the building get delayed, the material?
I believe it's, Jeremy, is the fire station under construction? Is that
Or
what's?
horizontally.
It's under
Yeah, they've.
It's not gone, yeah, I mean, we're going to be.
They're horizontal, they haven't gone vertical.
Yeah,
The steel is ordered. I think the steel is supposed to arrive next week.
okay.
And then it's like City Hall. Once the steel gets there, it'll look like it's,
So they can get this pretty quick.
foundations
for
are poured,
months.
site utilities are ongoing, perimeter
I know we
drain.
wanted to get the reserve engine inside.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've found a place to store it, for the next several weeks, but we anticipate that that's supposed to be done, I think, in December.
Yeah, there's a plan, the contractor was generous enough that a plan B, just if the weather gets up on us too soon, they have a storage unit that they are willing to provide us, I think, free of charge. But hopefully we don't need it.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
But the steel was ordered like 2
But yeah,
months ago.
Chris, the foundation's poured and stuff. There's not gone vertical at all.
Well, and they've done a lot of work on the site. They've dealt with some of the settling issues and things of that nature. They've redirected a lot of the utilities. I mean, so a lot of work has taken place. So really, it's just pad and then stand the structural steel on it.
I think
So
they anticipate
it'll
2
go quick.
weeks. So the building, I believe, arrives next week, and then the construction of the prefab building is about a 2-week.
Okay.
It'll go pretty fast.
And then we do have some other things like fixing the brick and.
There's some, appearance that needs to be done.
Yeah.
We're redoing all of the exterior masonry, so it matches, and all the old is falling off, painting the whole building. So, yeah, and then obviously some interior finishes, exhaust system.
We are entertaining a motion on Title 19.
Yeah, I move to approve business item 5, amendments to Title 19 Land Development Code of the City of Saratoga Springs, Chapter 19-16, Site and Architectural Standards, Ordinance 24-47, dated today with all staff findings and conditions, with the edit that this will apply to the IC zone only.
Okay, I have a first from Councilman Carn,
Second.
second from Councilwoman Barton. Any further discussion? Carn.
Aye.
Barton.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
Wadman.
Aye.
McComber.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We have business item 6, amendment to Title 19 Land Development Code, sign regulations.
Good evening. I'm excited that we're doing this. Right here.
This is a huge,
It's not really long.
Okay,
I've read this.
awesome.
So it starts out, I have a question. Do you want me to go through everything and then have comments, or as they go, do you want to comment on them, or how do you want to do that?
Comment as we go so we don't get
Okay.
lost.
All right. So changes on complex cabinet sign, just removed with at least one rounded edge from the definition. Added a definition for canopy sign. Do you want me to read them all to you, or, okay. Added, can't speak, halo illumination. Changed the sign definition, so it's not anything that draws your attention, which anything could have been before. Change window sign.
Councilman McComber, you had a question on
So
that?
I just have like with these lighted, we're getting the neon and the halo, and so this is sort of a general across the board. I just noticed, it's in the, I can't remember the master development for the whole church property, whatever that thing's called. So they can only have the TV screens, right? Just Fat Cats has those. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is they're actually dealing with it right now. If there's a glitch and they start flashing and blinking, it actually becomes a huge distraction. And there are some people who are so photosensitive and can actually throw them, and we in turn can be held liable if we allow it. So I would like to make sure that, I don't know if it's here, but this is just something because right now the Fat Cat sign is like.
Those are still prohibited.
But if there's a neon site that starts doing that and it starts flashing, I would like to have in the code that they have to turn it off. They don't get the sign until they get it fixed, and that it's not flashing. Because, and that's an easy thing for code enforcement. You drive by, you're like, it's flashing. That needs to get turned off, right? It's just that it was so distracting. Even myself, like all of a sudden I was like, whoa. Like I was like, got nervous driving down Redwood Road because it was way flashing and glitching the Fat Cat's TV monitor on Redwood Road.
Okay.
So that's just in general with all this added lighting, because we're allowing a lot more lighting options in this, which I'm fine, because there's lots of new trends with like the Chili's has their little neon chili and it looks really cool, and I get that, and it adds a cool dynamic and it works because the whole sign's not that way and we're allowing that, right? We're making it officially allowed because they were sort of against code. They did it.
Yeah.
So, but if that starts blinking weird, then we need to be able to address that. So thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
That's going to be at the end. Just adding the halo illumination. Again here, reducing the foot candle, saying it's the 0.3 for the digital changeable copy, like you said. On the bottom here, it was confusing where it just said digital change, or signs, or digital copy signs shall use red. So it's pretty much saying they're the only ones allowed to use those. Change that. I added the white. Sorry. Oh, I'm just adding a reference there showing what they were for those are for the complex cabinet signs that are not allowed, but then it's showing the coloring there. And then adding the signs and monuments for the changeable copy since it wasn't in there. The figures were referring to the wrong thing, so we changed that to where it actually points to the right thing that it's supposed to. Added that, so it's either channel letters or the complex cabinet sign, so you don't get just the square box, flat vinyl pieces. And then I made a new graphic for a complex cabinet sign so you could see the actual protrusion on the front of it. We added the pole signs for the internal directional signs, so for like going into the drive-throughs and stuff, and it has to be 6 inches. Oh, that's not yet. And then we changed your temporary signs to 60 days instead of 30.
Yep.
Yeah, there's where it adds the 6 inches. What was that?
The grand opening.
Well, a temporary sign they can do anytime. So the grand opening, you can only do once within the year for 45 days. Temporary sign they can do, it's once per year.
Banners, anything that's not permanent is,
Yeah.
so banners.
Like clearance.
Really, it's just banners.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we address in here the now hiring question?
That is a tough one. So we cannot regulate
Content.
So what we did is we put in a longer length of time. So the code did allow banners for 30 days at a time, and now we're proposing 60 days. They can have that banner up. That should help them cover those now hiring periods. And then how many times can you do that each year?
Well, it's 60 days total in the year.
Okay, so 60 days in
So
the
it's
year so they can
cumulative.
spread that out. If you want to change that, we certainly can. We just can't say now hiring signs are allowed whenever because we can't mention content. So
I appreciate that.
And are they really hiring because they don't hire?
60 days, well, 60 days
They don't.
throughout a 12-month calendar year may not be sufficient.
No, but you know what, but I do have an argument with this. I'm so tired of them saying now hiring and these 15 and 16-year-old kids going and actually applying like, we're really not hiring. So
Now hiring sign, we don't want people.
but they put them up because it makes it look like they're growing. It's a subliminal thing. There's a big thing in the Harvard Business Review that if you have now hiring, then people think your business is doing well and it's growing, even though you're not hiring. There could be a recession and they're actually firing people and they're putting now hiring signs out. That's a trend. So, yeah. Again, we can't regulate content. You'll have a bunch of snipe signs. You'll have all the waving signs. It'll become a nightmare.
Do you have businesses? What's the feedback from businesses on the not now hiring, like 60 days, 30 days, that sort of thing? Like, does it seem sufficient from the feedback you guys are getting from businesses, or is it something we maybe can look at again later on if we are okay with the 60 days? I mean, what are you getting from them?
we haven't got, staff hasn't specifically gotten anything. It's indirect feedback we've received.
Okay.
So we haven't.
And they can have now hiring signs internal as much as
Yeah,
they want.
I believe that some of the council members have gotten feedback, but staff hasn't gotten feedback.
If they really were hiring and it was really important, when you went in to order, it would be like where the food ordering is, right underneath there, it would say now hiring. Because that's where everyone reads. Everyone reads the menu. But they don't put the now hiring sign there. Just saying. If they really need to hire, that's where they would put it.
Well, and keep in mind that 60 days is any banner they want to put out, and then that's the total for the calendar year. They can do that all at one time. They can split that up into, 10-day increments 6 times. So however they choose to use that 60 days. The banners do require a permit with the city, and then it's just, even if they're splitting it up, that's just one permit for the whole year. However you direct us is.
We're doubling what they had. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
I was asking, can we look at it?
It's doubling.
I think we set ourselves up for failure when it comes to regulating that. Because
do.
for code enforcement to say, okay, that business had a sign out.
For 34 days.
Come back and
Well, and if it's 10 days here, 15 days.
It's really tough to manage. Yeah.
Right, and so in a way, what we're saying is our code enforcement probably will not be enforcing this. So let's just,
Well, we do actually enforce it.
well, but it'll be a lot harder for him.
It's just
to
hard.
be able-
Yes,
Oh, right.
He literally has to have a calendar now and say, okay, they had that up for 10 days, and then 2 months later, they had it up for 6 more days. That would be very hard.
Right.
Right, but the permit's simple, but getting the permit's one thing, but if they put it out for 6 days and then take it down, a month later put it out for 5 days, take it down.
No, it's difficult.
It's difficult to enforce.
Well,
But
we
we're really
actually
enforcing-
have them tell us the days. So if they're breaking it up like that, we actually have them tell us the days.
You have the.
It's on the
Just tell you the
application.
days?
Oh, they give the days, Chris.
Right. So they give us the days. If they're breaking it up like that, they give us the days. So then we do have our approval letter with the days, and we can go look,
okay.
is it meeting these days?
That's good, I like that.
Okay.
And to Mayor's point, we're doubling it. Let's see what they say.
Yeah.
If you're done with that, I want to just mention, I looked at the code about that issue with the sign that's having the malfunctioning issue. Our code does require signs to be maintained in good condition. It's pretty broad language, but that would probably give code enforcement enough teeth to go and issue a notice on
Yeah, 'cause
that,
it's not in
notice to
good condition.
comply, or speak with the property owner about
So let's make
that
sure
violation.
Yeah, and maybe we get a template or something that we can reach out to them right away and say, hey, you need to turn your sign off. So thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that.
So you'll see a lot of these repeat because they're different zones.
Yep.
So this one's for commercial. So this is where we added that they could have the third secondary sign if they didn't do the monuments by the street.
So we don't have a monument sign and a sign on the building, because then it's like,
Yeah, so some buildings can have 4 signs now if they just don't do the monument sign, if they're allowed by code to have it.
which is fine.
Yeah.
So real quick, I do want to make sure that, I was reading through it and I get so confused because like so many different sections. Where we have the main sign and then they start putting signs above all of their bays, that's against code, correct? Because they're allowed
It depends.
one sign per elevation.
Depends on the size of the building and the entrances and stuff like that.
What kind of signs? We do allow like open and closed signs.
No, for the banks, and I get that, but I'm talking like, you have, fine, Valvoline, and then you
Oh.
have oil changes, brakes, and it's like way over here, but now it's like saying all these other things, and if you combine it all, it far exceeds the sign code. The Valvoline sign, sure, is half, what are 4% and all this stuff, it works, but then all of a sudden you have all of these other things, like, we didn't allow Hobby Lobby to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't want, it's not fair when we hold one company to a standard and then we allow others to get away with it, because some of these other ones, they start advertising all these other things.
Yeah, Hobby Lobby wanted the different part, what's
They
in their
want
store,
crafts
yes,
and
that's
stuff,
right.
And we wouldn't
That's right.
allow that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, we just need to make sure we're being consistent in our code that you're not allowed to have all these extra.
I have had permits where I've shot them down when they tried to do that. So
But
I don't know if they put those after we approved the permit or what, if that's
they do,
something
and that's
different.
for enforcement, but I'm pretty sure, I mean, they have a
Yeah.
bunch of other signs on there.
We'll we'll take a look at.
And not just them, I don't want to single them out, it's just, I just feel like they're already breaking so many rules, I'm more hyper-focused on them, because I just am not happy with the distance that they got and stuff, so, I just want to make sure that they're not getting extra, even more opportunities to get around this system.
And then this one was changing the window size, allowing it to be, or the window sign to a third of a window instead of 20%,
If there's,
just a little bit bigger.
if there's no sign on the wall,
Yeah, yeah.
which makes sense.
Yeah, this is, changed it instead of half of the size of the primary sign to just 4% in general, which make it much cleaner.
It's less math.
Yeah. This is the window, or the monument sign, allowing the extra one again. Right? Yeah, the extra monument sign, and then third of the window. And then we changed the digital changeable copy, which again, that's the gas pricing to 25% instead of 10%. And then that's the 4% again. Windows,
That's the
60 days. Okay, and then we go to the HOA signs. So this is Harvest Hills Boulevard and Harvest Moon Drive. The yellow is showing you what's HOA owned, and then the red is city owned. So we have a proposal to where you can have snipe signs if the homeowners association approves it and the location of the signs, and they're not located in the right-of-way or in the clear sight triangle and are located on the HOA property and shall not be placed on or cover traffic signs. I know at this roundabout, you see people put them across that, they have the directional arrow telling you to go right from the roundabout. So it would not allow them to put that there because, again, it's not HOA property.
So, I mean, you're specifically saying traffic signs, but would it hurt to say and light posts? Because those are owned by the city as well. And we have a real problem because they're black and they put the stickers on and they're ruined.
Well, most of them already have a sign saying do
We
not
don't
put
allow
signs on
them,
them.
just saying,
Yeah,
but it might not hurt just to have that, I don't know.
yeah. We're just allowing it in HOA, the land or property.
Mayor and council, before we go off of that, I had a conversation with Brandon Taylor, who is with the HOA there. And he indicated, and I've gotten permission to share our employees' information with him so that he can coordinate with them. But he essentially said that their HOA is only approving 2 signs from Redwood Road to the roundabout, and one going in and one coming out. and he indicated that they've never given any permission for any signs to be placed in the roundabout. And oftentimes, I think that's some of the challenges that we faced in this area. I think our team has been unfairly kind of picked on because we've been pulling the signs out of the roundabout. And you know, for example, you know, someone put a sign recently there and they wrote on the back of the sign, the HOA's given us permission to put our sign in this location. And ironically, they don't, according to Brandon. And so one of the things that I've asked Ken to do is to schedule a meeting with our enforcement team and himself and Brandon so that we can get on the same page with the HOA and make sure that we're enforcing consistent with what they're actually approving. But also following up with Brandon, he said that they are actively pulling signs as well if they get put in the wrong locations. And so, again, it's a coordinated effort, and we want to make sure that with these sign code amendments, that we're working with them and coordinating that appropriately. So I just wanted to let you know that there was some comment and some conversations we had with them.
Will this code allow for one on the way in and one on the way out? Because we own all of the north.
It would, but for example, on the north side of the road, it would need to be back of sidewalk instead of in front of the sidewalk, in between the curb and gutter. And on the south side, there is no sidewalk, so it would need, it would need to be placed just so that it's not blocking those views of traffic. So again, this is one of those ones where an on-the-ground meeting with Brandon would probably go a long way to help make sure that that's adjusted.
Can I make, I think that comment about attaching the city light poles is,
It's already in
and
this code.
should be in there. We should specify that. But one thing I did notice is you're not specifying because snipe signs have been prohibited up to this point, we're not specifying a size limit on that. So we should probably do that in tonight's meeting. Unless I'm missing something, I don't see a size limit.
It's in the
Code.
definitions. It tells you about,
It says a small sign, it doesn't say a limit.
Yeah, so we should probably
we should
figure out-
specify,
Yeah.
right. You're gonna open the
Compared to
door
what,
for.
right?
And as I was meeting with Sarah earlier today, there were a couple things that I think are still lacking with this, and that's time, place, and manner. So we didn't necessarily have any of those restrictions, and I don't know if we've got any recommendations for you for tonight as far as how we could address that. But again, where we're creating this new language that would try and assist and address some of these things, we also should probably make sure that those issues that we can regulate relative to signs are also being addressed so that we don't just create a blanket.
What is the size that we use when we use those little metal?
that's a snipe
It's
sign.
about an 18
No,
by
what is that?
24. Yeah.
18 by 24.
Ish.
So then we might just, maybe we just even say 18 by 24.
I think that's a normal
That's what's standard when
sign-ish.
you buy those with the metal H stand and stuff.
Well, you
'Cause
have
that's what you're referring to when you say small, is the 18 by
Yeah,
yeah. We do have, so there is an option 2. So option 1 doesn't allow it in the red that you saw on the map. Option 2 would allow it in the red or any other road that has HOA maintenance. And the only reason it would be allowed in the red there is they maintain it, but you certainly don't have to. So we gave you 2 options. We heard that you wanted to hear options. We have 2 options. One is not in the right of way, so not in the roundabout or the median, and option 2 would allow it there. And then, of course, there's other HOAs, right, with other medians and roundabouts and things. And then, right now, banners aren't typical in residential zones, but we did propose an option for a banner if you wanted to consider allowing that on HOA property, and that does have a size limit and a 30-day limit. So just up for your consideration, option 1 and option 2, and if you want to consider any banner signs.
So real quick, the reason why I'm speaking a little bit is because there are a lot of council members who live in this area, and I'm trying to help them so that they're not showing bias or anything. You know, I mean, I'm not, you guys feel free to say whatever you want, but I personally like option where it allows for it to be on city-owned property as long as they maintain it, because the whole purpose, when we originally, again, I've been here a long time, so maybe it's good and bad, but I remember the reason why we did that is because our landscapers were having to pull signs, mow, and then they were putting it back, and then they damaged it, and then the person was coming back and saying, the city needs to replace my sign because you damaged it when you moved it to mow. Well, if the HOA is approving it and they're maintaining it, it sort of negates the whole reason why we became so militaristic, if you would, on putting signs on city property. So I'm in favor of that, because if the HOA is willing to move it, and how the HOAs in the past, remember when I went and got permission to put my signs there, they said, put it on the tree ring so that it's not in the grass, so then they can mow around it, right? And so, the dirt area around the trees. And I'm also in favor of the banner option because this allows HOAs when they're doing a neighborhood yard sale, things like that. And again, it's private property. They having to mow around it, they're gonna have to, the water, if they leave it up too long and the sprinkler can't get to the grass behind the grass dies, guess what?
It's not,
It's their grass, they're maintaining it, right? So, I'm okay with the banners as well. But I do like the idea, I appreciate Kevin's point, let's put a size. I think 18 by 24 is plenty for the snipe signs.
They're normally 18 by 12. That's small.
No, it's
Small,
That's too small.
that's gotta be
I
bigger.
think mine were bigger than that.
Yeah, they're a lot bigger than a sheet of paper.
18 inches by 24?
18 by 24 is about the size of a poster.
18 inches by 24 inches. It's 2 feet. That's 2 feet.
Yeah, I'd say I was just looking about 24 by 36.
Yeah, 24 by 36 would probably be bigger.
So whatever we do is like if the, I think mine are 24 by 36 when I bought mine. But so I think we just put something in there. I would be okay with 2 feet by 3 feet. I consider that somewhat small.
So I just want to bring,
Traditional campaign signs are 18 by 24.
That's what I thought, yeah.
So we'll do, let's just do traditional snipe signs are 18 by 24. We'll just do that.
okay.
Sometimes we just put a square footage, that way,
They can do whatever they want.
16 by 28 or something like that.
Yeah.
So sometimes we just, whatever 18 by 24 comes out to.
I'm gonna do it right now.
2 by 1.5,
So while Michael's, can I go ahead?
Councilman Wilden?
While Councilman
Then we'll get to
McComber's
Robin.
looking it up, I know we're talking about Harvest, but I push this not just for Harvest Hills, but
This is
for
for the
the whole city. Harvest Hills is a good point to show how it impact, but like including the Saratoga Springs development or anyone or Loch Lomond, they can make those decisions on what they want to do. And I think what we're doing here is putting something into code that's been allowed for 25 years.
Yes, exactly.
So we've gone through this literally every 2 years where signs will go up, they get pulled down, then we have a conversation, oh, this is HOA property. So I do like the second option was B or 2.
I think they did 2.
Yeah, whatever, the second one.
Allowed it to be on city property as long as they maintain it.
Yeah.
City easement.
And so the question, I have homeowners, so they're allowed to put up signs. Is there any restriction in times when homeowners can put up a sign in their front yard and they can
have
also
limits.
place it in the easement, right?
There's the residential temporary.
We do
sign
have
code.
a limit.
We added, so what you're seeing here is what's in the code for residential. We added that just so you, to
Well.
answer that question.
Clearly, I didn't read that part. I
Well,
can't.
no,
It
they
was
put
just added to the slides
Oh,
tonight.
okay.
Steven, this was just for tonight. They didn't put it in the packet.
We used to say they had to be on the other side of the sidewalk, right?
You got to be on your property.
Basically, it's back of sidewalk.
So, but now with the HOA saying that we're gonna allow it,
You could put it in the park strip.
but now they can go on this.
I believe.
Well, if they maintain it, I don't, like, so I live in Harvest Hills too, and I have to take it on the park strip. They don't do anything for it.
No, but I maintain it.
Yeah, so it wouldn't go there.
Again,
It would have to go behind the sidewalk.
But there's still the site, and then it blocks the site corridor, the view corridor.
So what I'm talking about is if.
They can't put in the most.
If I'm a if private property and I put up a sign, I've always told people to put it on their private property on the side of the sidewalk. But now with this easement, because HOA or private individual, if they maintain that property,
They still
No.
have to though because of site triangles and site view lines.
I think we're still saying that it needs to be back of sidewalk.
Yes.
okay.
The
What I read.
example on Harvest was
What I read.
that they don't,
So if you go back to Harvest,
on the south side, there's no sidewalks.
right, but on the north side, there is, and that's where all the signs are now. They're between the street and the sidewalk.
And I
They're not
think
on the other side. So,
The intent of this is to put it back of sidewalk, even in
okay.
the
Well, Mark, the difference would be if it's allowed in the right of way, that is the park strip. So if we're putting it back of sidewalk, which, I think that the way it's written doesn't match the intent.
Yeah, because the way I'm hearing it is
But I'm wanting to emphasize this, if we make
You can
this
add
change,
that.
if we
No,
make this
I-
change, I think it has a trickle-down effect through the entire city.
Right.
As opposed to, do you as a council want it to be in between the curb and the sidewalk, or do you want to maintain it back of sidewalk?
I will say I am fully comfortable if a homeowner or an HOA is maintaining it and it doesn't impact like sight view, because I think it's idiotic, quite honestly, that I can't put up a political sign and express my choice of whatever political leaning it is and can't put it in a park strip. It is completely worthless and useless to me. It doesn't impact traffic flow. So I am 100% confident, or not confident, I am confident, but comfortable with option 2 as it's written, saying in the right of way, as long as it doesn't impact view corridor. I would like us to look at it eventually, not now, but for residentials, let them use their easement as long as it doesn't impact traffic.
I would agree.
Visibility.
Amen.
And everyone
Because
uses it anyway.
I would just say, if we're gonna be so restrictive on easements on that, I hate my easement with a passion. So I would love to let's stop making residents maintain it.
So can I ask a question? And again, I just want to make sure that we get the policy discussion right for the council. These snipe signs, are you saying you want to allow them everywhere? Because this is going to mean that the people that are doing the hourly sales or all of the
apprentice signs.
or even the little real estate signs and
Real estate
the,
apprentice.
we've had kind of enforcement issues with different kinds of signs, but what I'm hearing,
No, I'm talking specifically private residential homes and HOA, which is commonly owned private property. That's all I'm talking about.
okay, because again, outside of HOAs, because if we're opening it up, we can't monitor content. And so by going too far, it would mean that we're talking about the people that are doing their little, what do we call it, guerrilla advertising and things like that.
But if they only put it in their mowing strip in front of their house, I tend to probably, even though it's an easement, I don't see why they can't have 60 days there. But maybe I'm off. Isn't that what you were saying, Stephen?
Yeah, the only exemption we have in code right now is single family, I might be wrong, single or multifamily. I think it's just single family residence that has the exception right now. We're adding the HOA. I'm not proposing adding additional exemptions beyond single family resident or multi if it's referenced in there, and the HOA.
Okay.
But I'm comfortable with the HOA using the easement that they maintain and manicure consistently in any HOA, including any private residence.
So that includes the roundabouts.
No, the roundabouts,
They're maintained by the HOA.
right, but the roundabouts would clearly impact like a side triangle.
Okay.
So pretty.
The roundabouts, like,
HOA can regulate that anyway.
Right, they have the right to do that as well.
There are always banners there.
Okay.
Okay.
Nope, wrong way.
Reminds me of the
I got the
days
wrong way.
debating over shrubbery.
There we go.
Or bees.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Or
We've gone through all the questions. Is there any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I will move that we approve business item 6 as stated on the agenda, including staff findings and conditions, selecting option 2 on the HOA signage, and also adding a maximum size.
440 square inches.
How many square inches?
440.
440 square inches. It could be really
Like a nice
tall and
small-
skinny.
So that means you could have something 440 inches by 1 inch?
No.
Pretty much.
Okay.
That is
I have
going
a
in
first. It was eloquently done by Councilman Wilson.
Second.
I have a second, Councilwoman Barton. Any further discussion? McComber?
Yeah, hang on.
Oh, we got the attorney.
I believe you wanted to add so it says not covering traffic signs, but also not covering street poles.
We wanna add that in there.
Light poles and.
Adding
Traffic
that any sign cannot cover a existing street sign or any city-owned property, including lights.
Light poles and traffic poles.
Light poles, traffic poles, attorney poles.
We do want to ask, just double check, are you approving the banner signs, the 4x8 signs?
That was in option 2, so.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll second.
I have an amended first, an amended second. Councilman McComber.
Aye.
Barton.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
Carn.
Aye.
Wadman.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We have the Patriot Park Phase 3 concept plan.
Quick bio break.
Okay. We will take a short recess. I think we're ready to go. I'm ready. Jeremy, it's you.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, council, just wanted to try to bring back to you, we had a draft of this concept plan. This is the remaining development of Patriot Park. We did have some very draft versions that we, I think, displayed to the public at Splash Days. Somewhat with a grain of salt, right? This is not a funded project. This does not address every issue or nuance, right? There's a lot of the devil's in the details. This is not intended to address all those details per se. But we certainly do want to get some feedback and try to get this to a point where it's pencils down, just because as all concept plans, what actually gets built 5 or 8 or whatever years from now may or may not resemble anything to here. So the goal here is not to say this is a set in stone plan. It's simply a concept property. It lays out general ideas of the type of amenities we want to see. I think the most important part probably is the area around City Hall. That's probably the most likely one that's going to move forward first. And this does incorporate council's direction for the amphitheater. So I think that's certainly an area that would warrant a little more scrutiny maybe than the rest of the plan, which may be years and years out. But I just want to open it up to any feedback, and with the idea that let's trying to get this to a point where it can be preserved for a future date when we actually can fund it.
Councilman Carn?
Yeah, so as I look at this, I do notice the one area that does not have island parking. I know we did that intentionally for Splash Day Carnival on that asphalt.
Correct.
And I think that everything to the east of that, I really like the design, the layout. The only change I would potentially want to see over there, I know this is conceptual, is lighting some of those multi-purpose fields.
Actually, I would love to see the 3, they're the big ones, all of that.
All that lit, yeah. And I know we've talked about it. I have no idea what the financial ramifications would be, but to potentially geothermal some of that.
You're talking about the soccer fields?
The soccer fields in the north, yeah, on Pony and Saratoga Road.
The multi-purpose.
All that area could be lit. Across the street, you're gonna have commercial, so I don't, we're not as concerned about that light spillage. I know Councilman McComber and I talked briefly today about the pickleball and field orientation, about possibly shifting that, but frankly, if this is pure conceptual, I'm not really worried about that tonight. I do have some thoughts, though, because when we talked about that, I wasn't really concerned about moving the diamonds west and flip-flopping the pickleball courts because of the noise the pickleball courts can create with the residential just to the west of them. But I do think by doing that, we're also shifting much taller lights right next to residential. And so I don't know if there's a way we can, I don't know if we can mitigate the sound.
There's still parking, there'll still be a parking where the pickleball, so you'd have.
Yeah.
And then the baseball field, so it would shift over, not all the way, it would shift over about the first row of it. And I did talk to many of the neighbors in this area, and they would much rather have lights than the ding, 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 ding,
Yeah,
ding.
and I don't live there. My neighbor in my backyard has a pickleball court.
Because you can
all the
hear
time.
pickleball.
It's noisy.
You can hear
It's shockingly
Patriot-
noisy.
Currently, Patriot Park, you can hear pickleball here. And so by moving it, it would move the pickleball about the same equidistant. that the-
Can you clarify, you're suggesting moving the pickleball where?
To the opposite side of the.
Closer to the carnival parking lot.
Just move pickleball.
So you move softball, baseball west and jump the pickleball to the other side of those diamonds.
And the new lights too, Chris, that we'll be putting in are the LED ones that have the zero spillage. It literally is like a perfect line.
And I'm not disagreeing with that. When we talked about it, I thought, well, I understand that, but then you're moving all these bright lights next to the houses, so what is
But
worse?
the new lights, we wish we would have had on our other baseball fields. Like if you see them, like, down in St. George, they have them, like literally with, it's black line.
Like
You can
dark
actually
line
see
and
the
light,
line
yeah.
Because it's LED and they're like perfectly directional.
So-
And they're cheaper too.
So Jeremy, so I'll wrap up my comments. It'd be good to see what that option would look like. If we could fit the diamonds west.
Yeah, this is just very early concept.
Yeah.
Just to look and see
What I love about this concept is the amphitheater with amphitheater seating and grass behind it for overflow seating. That's exactly what I wanted.
And the people performing have their back to the sun.
Well, the sun's over here, right?
Well, the sun's
In the
south.
evening.
Well, in the south and then to
Yeah.
the west, so it's perfectly
Yeah.
aligned.
Because I know our current setup, and I've talked to Ann about this a million times.
It's worse.
When I'm sitting there at Neptune, looking at the stage,
Your sun is.
I'm staring at the sun. Yeah, and it's
this
not
is
a great,
much
so this is gonna be much better.
So, Chris,
I
tell
love
me where
this.
do you want to look at, where do you want to put the pickleball courts?
So we were just talking, okay, so pick the pickleball courts up in the air.
Okay.
Slide all the diamonds west.
Okay.
And then drop the pickleball courts
By the carnival.
closer to the
parking lot?
carnival parking lot. Yes.
You will likely not have as many pickleball courts, I'm assuming. It just, it
Well,
probably,
I'd
because
like
it's
to
not
see
as
how we can
long
lay it
there.
out. Let's just see how we can lay it out, right?
Sure, understood.
Because I do like I think I counted, what is there, 18 pickleball courts there?
Oh, it's 25.
And do we want tennis courts?
5, 6, 16,
Well,
17.
my thing is you could leave the tennis courts, but you don't, but the thing
There's
is.
17 pickleball courts, 8 sets of 4, and then a championship court.
Because aren't they
Yeah,
1,
okay.
2, 3, 4, 4, 8, 12, 16,
And then the bottom 2 are tennis.
20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and then the.
So 25 and then we have,
5, 6, oh,
And
I'm
then we
sorry.
have,
Correct.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
okay.
6 times.
Oh, it says 25 right on the drawing.
Yeah, 6 times 4 is 24
Okay.
for the championship.
Correct, thank you.
We lost a little because
So-
of the tennis.
Yeah, I guess, any comments on
I don't
keeping it
mind.
tennis courts or making them pickleball courts?
I would like to keep.
We're just trying to provide some variety for
But
people.
I actually think having 2 tennis courts is fine, and we could always put.
Yeah, you can
All striped
pickle, I saw this in Park City, we've done it before, where they have they alternate, right? So on Mondays and Wednesdays, it's tennis, and
Yeah, that's great. Multi-purpose use, yeah.
it's a movable net versus
I
a,
like the fact that the city has some tennis courts, we leverage the schools constantly, it'd be nice to show that we are supporting tennis too ourselves.
okay, understood. And then, just to be clear, those buildings on the southeast corner of the baseball park are, those are existing, so that's kind of an area.
Those can't move.
What can't move?
They could move,
The
but
buildings on the
Oh,
southeast
yeah,
corner,
yeah.
they're already there.
Yeah, yeah.
the one where the parks uses that for, that's kind of where the current sandbag storage is, and the parks has their, I mean, those could move, but you'd be tearing out
Yeah.
and redoing it. So that was, the intent there was to just build on what we've already had.
Jeremy, did we, in the first version, we also had a ice rink? Is that no longer?
No, several iterations ago, there was an ice.
We took that off.
Did we take that out?
And I don't know an ice rink, but.
Well, the one in Lehigh is packed all the time, so
And
is that?
so is Harriman's, they make a fortune off of them,
I grew
Jared-
up with an ice rink, so I'm 100%.
the previous
You know, if
council.
like the pickleball courts in St. George, do we have decibel ratings? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
are these noise deafening?
I don't know, I mean, totally open, I'm not saying this is a consideration, if you were to leave the pickleball courts where they are, it sounds like you don't, but we could, it would just be notes at this point, sound barriers, sound wall, vegetation, but I honestly wouldn't even know if that would be effective or not.
I wouldn't even want that.
I don't even know, so,
I'll tell you, as a homeowner in the area, I would not want a wall.
right. I really would have to do some more research to give you a good answer on the actual decibel levels. Off the cuff, I really don't know.
I just say strip them all.
So earlier, Councilmember McComber mentioned to me, can we slide the
We
baseball?
did, we
We
talked all
talked
about
about that.
Right. The only question that I have on that is, do we get just as many people irritated because we now put overhead lights?
No, because the new LED lights, Mark, they're so directional, like you literally, it's black. It's way better than what you have there now.
And I'm not saying it's not.
I did talk to my neighbors and everyone would rather have blackout curtains versus ding, 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 ding.
So long as
Ask the people who
we
live
understand
above.
there's consequences
St.
associated
George,
with both.
ask the people who live above the huge park there in South St. George, what they think of the 20, or the 36 courts there.
Yeah, we can bring you back I mean,
Just an idea. Just-
even showing you, we could, before they make it, I mean, because it obviously takes some more effort, we can do a rough sketch. At least give you information on what that would look like.
Yeah.
I guess one other question is would you be willing to consider moving the pickleball court even across the street?
Across the street to,
Into
No, so on that
Inlet
side, that,
Park.
Inlet
the park
Park.
is where I want the skateboard park.
Well, we could put the skate park, you'd mentioned the northern part of
The
Inlet
triangle,
Park.
yeah.
And then we could take this over there as well. So, I mean, that would get it the farthest away from residential, but it would also put it closest to the bugs with the night lights. So there's part of why we were originally kind of contemplating.
Well, this is
that
water
use.
here too. You have it right next to the water as well.
Right. So again, we can certainly look at all these.
Well, I would say, look at the design. I think having it internal is sort of nice, because if we're doing a tournament, and we now have the 8 and the above, they're all much closer. If you can make it where it just shifts on the other side, because there isn't any really homes there and never will be, because it's what Wander has planned is commercial on that last little piece that goes before the river as well.
Oh, yeah, we're zoned commercial across from the multipurpose fields.
Right. But that's basically where, roughly where the pickleball courts would be. So in terms of like this being Patriot Park, because you're talking about going over to Inland Park, would it be possible to put as part of this concept plan, the skateboard park, you guys, because I don't know about you guys, I get requests about this constantly.
I get asked about a skate park, yeah.
And the thing is that triangle space that takes you where Saratoga Road comes up, and then that, where we put our dumpsters, it is the perfect location for a skateboard park, because skateboard parks like being in a triangle formation.
So it'd be on the other side of Saratoga Road?
It'd be on the east side.
I was looking at the Lehigh parcel, and it's about 3 acres, maybe 3¼ acres. So
and it's very
we could situate it there. There's parking already there. There's alternatives. It works there so long as we have all of the RC stuff being addressed north of the river.
What is the liability, though, of a skate park?
There's liability with
There's no
them.
liability in any park. It's our insurance coverage.
I mean,
The reality is the skate park in Lehigh and 2100 is packed.
Every single, it doesn't matter if it's.
Doesn't matter if it's a school day, it's packed until they close.
And-
10, it's
and
30 outside, it's packed.
How much graffiti do you see there?
None.
Nothing. And I asked a police officer in my neighborhood who's a police officer in Lehigh, and I says, what's your crime rate? He says, nothing, because they regulate
I've
themselves.
talked to their council and they've had to close it a couple times for some vandalism at their bathrooms, but it's minimal.
But
It's
we've had
nothing more
vandalism
than
in our
we've had-
Neptune Park.
Nothing more than we've had in our parks.
Exactly. So,
Mayor Johnson.
I do
so the
like,
thing is but we need to make sure when we do ours, just like we did our pickleball courts, we did them right, so they're popular. We got to make sure when we do our skateboard park, we get residents involved, because the bowls and the slopes and things, we need to do it professionally so that it's a draw, because ask Draper, they screwed up. They had to redo theirs because they didn't do it right.
so I like that idea of a skate park, because I get a lot of questions too, like our kids. I want to just bring it back to the ice rink. Is the general council here pretty much against it, or?
No, I was in favor of it before, but I was in the minority before. But it sounds like I might not be in the minority anymore.
So it's also a matter of how many things can you put, I mean,
Put in one
there's a
spot.
limit to what this property can.
Well, but this is the winter. You're not playing baseball in the winter.
So
So what
I mean, that'd
Lehigh,
be a concept, you're saying a ribbon around the baseball field?
Lehigh does it on their baseball field with a temporary rink that they've now upsized this year from last year.
Because it's so popular.
Yes.
Well, and I'm just saying hockey, and I know we were being facetious earlier, but hockey is coming into
Big in-
popularity big time with, Utah. So I don't know if we could entertain that somehow, I don't know. But like you said, a temporary one or whatever.
I think that was the other discussion that went away, was rink versus ribbon.
Yeah.
I sort of like the ribbon because you just have the
So-
cement curb, and then you just put a barrier, and then it's like the whole sidewalk becomes.
Yeah,
I know Lehigh got a recreation grant that covered a lot of the cost of their
they did, yeah.
temporary rink that they just set up in the baseball field. And frankly, the field at the end of the pavilion,
My thing is with the
the
rink,
area where the shows can be, what do we call that? The amphitheater. That multi-purpose field right there is not being used in the wintertime. You could use the amphitheater for a rental location of skates and staff. You have bathrooms there. That's an option.
Still to keep with our theme of Patriot Park and Founding Fathers, Ford's Theater.
Forest Theater.
How do
The
they say?
mayor, I would not call it that.
Killer
At least for a
performances.
bulletproof vest.
Anyways, we got the Delaware up the other side. We'll have a little boat crossing.
Delaware
We got it
over
all.
just,
Michael will be crossing that thing.
Any other input? or
Jeremy,
is that-
by the way, this is looking awesome. I think it's,
Yep.
I know we keep evolving, but overall, it's,
And if we pass the rap text, a lot of these things would come much sooner than later.
Public record,
On
yes.
public record.
I was just about to say, I think this is awesome. I think it's important to know that this is nothing that we're looking at is funded, except for that city hall building.
Right. Nothing's funded, but it's things that we're definitely strongly considering.
Just like the roads we talked about too.
Is there a way, Mark, that we can, because that amphitheater would be really cool. Can we talk about doing this in segments so that?
Oh, yeah, this will all be done in phases.
Yeah, there's going to be multiple phases.
Okay, okay.
We've got phases galore.
Chris
that we're
actually talked
talking
about that the other day, making this in phases and then getting a partnership, a sponsor for the amphitheater.
Then you get a corporate sponsor.
Well, because like the Sandy Theater is Zion's theater.
Because I'd like to see that sooner. I mean, I know this is probably conceptual and it weighs out, but
I'm sure we can get a dill pickle person to
The
sponsor.
area
pickleball.
right around City Hall, I would
Nally's?
love to see us paint.
Pepsi, Fritos, pickles, we got it all.
So let me summarize the comments I heard, and then you can add, and we can. We like everything, for sure, everything east of the open parking areas, generally you guys are happy with as far as layout, with the exception of making sure it's clear that we want lighting for the multipurpose.
The top 5.
The top part. And even maybe geothermal, but a lot of those will just be notes on the plan.
But if we're talking about skating somewhere, maybe we need to have lit in the bottom area too, right behind the amphitheater. I
If
don't
that's
know.
where the skating goes.
If that's where it goes, yeah.
The amphitheater will have its own lighting. I mean, again, some of these details are just beyond the scope
Yeah,
of
yeah.
that plan. But
you get the gist, yeah.
And then the other big conversation, of course, was getting a layout, looking at a layout that swaps the baseball fields and the pickleball courts. And then there was also some discussion of, can we, at least with notations or something, discuss either the baseball fields or the fields north of the amphitheater being used in the winter for ice skating? Was that?
Like just skating.
An ice ribbon of some.
Ice ribbon or rink.
Maybe,
Pink or ribbon.
should we clarify that? Would it make more sense to focus that on the area north of the amphitheater versus the baseball field?
I think the area north of the amphitheater is,
I would rather not use the baseball fields. 'Cause
Right.
It does damage them.
Right, so the area north of the amphitheater,
It is perfect.
Okay.
And the bathrooms being there, to your point, Chris.
okay.
I like the idea of a ribbon because I don't know if I want to get into the people renting it for ice hockey and then you're not giving us opportunity and then they start complaining. But an ice ribbon is purely recreational. It's just allowing
We
kids.
don't do it for swimming, so let's not start for hockey.
Right. And so then that way it gives the ice skating opportunity and it's purely recreational.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Okay. Perfect.
got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The ribbon.
Okay, we have need for a closed session. I will entertain that motion. I have a first from Councilman Carn with eagerness.
Where's my phone?
So you're going to
I have a
second.
second from Councilwoman Barton. All in favor?
aye.
And Mayor and Council, we're going to adjourn to the conference room this evening for the closed session.